We all asked for it. The Commanders came through. Daron Payne has been extended. Let's talk about it.
Here we go.
Well, that's excellent.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District. I look to my left. I look to my right. I look below. It's just me tonight. It's the stoner here with you. Trev, Nathan, they've got things to do. Apparently, I don't. So I'm going to bring you through for the next few minutes and talk about this Daron Payne extension. Like I said in the beginning, we all have been asking for this extension. And the Commanders came through. Daron Payne agreed to the deal. He is now a Washington Commander for the next 4 years. He signed a 4-year, $90 million extension, or he will sign when the new league year begins and free agency begins on Wednesday. $60 million of that is guaranteed. So it's AAV, annual adjusted value. I believe it's what it's called. Right now is $22.5 million. That's pretty much where we thought it was going to be, somewhere in that range as a Pro Bowl defensive tackle, young. He's only going to be 26 years old when the season starts. He is a very young player. So this is a big deal. How do we feel about that? $22.5 million. We're going to see what the cap hits are going to be because we don't know that detail yet. But how do we feel about Daron Payne being in the fold for the next 4 years? Well, here's a couple of things that I'm thinking of. From a playing standpoint, it's obvious he's a fantastic defensive tackle. He's a top 10 defensive tackle in the NFL. It was time for him to get paid, so he got his bag. Good for him. From a playing perspective, you absolutely love this deal. You want him to be a part of your future that you're building here. You build a team from the middle out. Defensive tackles, defensive ends, offensive tackles, offensive guards. That's how you build your team, and that's what Washington is doing. 2 years ago, they signed Jonathan Allen to a big deal. This year, it's Daron Payne. So from that standpoint, you got to be ecstatic that Daron Payne wanted to be here as well. That's the part that maybe we're not talking about enough. Daron Payne signed it. Maybe he gets more out on the open market. Who knows? But with that tag that Washington placed on him, that limits him a little bit in what he can find in the open market because then another team has to come in and give something up for Daron Payne. But it's a good deal all around. Here's a few things that maybe concern me a little bit. I'm not poo-pooing this signing. Personally, I didn't think they should sign Payne. I thought they should have let him go for compensation somehow because it is a lot of money that you are putting up. And here's why. You've got $22.5 million for Daron Payne as a cap hit this year. That's what it is right now. It's probably going to be different because of the way they do the signing bonus and the cash and all that other stuff. We'll see. But for now, let's just say it's $22.5 million. Then you have Jonathan Allen, $21.5 million. So your two defensive tackles are taking $43, almost $44 million out of your cap for this year. Montez Sweat is getting $11.5 million in the final year of his contract. So that's something you got to think about next year as well. Or maybe you sign him now to get that out of the way. Then Chase Young, in his 4th year of his contract, he's at $11 million. So you've got $69.5 million tied into 4 players on your defensive line for 2023. That's 28.5% of the $231 million adjusted cap that Washington has. That's a lot of money in 4 guys. That's my concern. My concern is not Daron Payne as a football player. My concern is how this is going to affect the salary cap and your ability to sign other players, to sign a quarterback. if that's what they want to do, to sign a linebacker, another safety, a corner, all these different areas, offensive line. That's going to limit them. Right now, they've got about $40 million this year to sign other players, to include their draft class. Let's not forget that. That $40 million has to go towards the draft class as well. That's a whole lot of goopily gop with the salary cap, but it's still an issue. So keep an eye on restructures of other guys. And not to do the old back padding that I tend to do on this show, but I never understood the second round pick of Fedarian Mathis last year. Everybody said he's the heir apparent to Daron Payne. Ooh, the heir apparent to Daron Payne. And then you re-signed Daron Payne as Daron Payne went out and had a massive year, 11 and a half sacks, which was, I believe, second in the NFL for defensive tackles. So you not wasted. Sure, he's depth, but in the second round, you don't draft for depth. Your second rounder should play every play, should be a starter from day one for at least the next 5 years. So what is that pick about? What is that Fedarian Mathis pick about now? Now when you look back on it. And when I saw it right at the beginning, I hated it because he was only supposed to be a rotational player. I'm not trying to poo-poo what the Commanders just did today. I think it's fantastic what they did today. I just think maybe they didn't see this year coming from Daron Payne. And now you've got a second rounder that you picked up last year that's not going to play very much. Let's be honest. He's going to play 30% of the snaps, maybe 40%. Second rounders should not be playing 30, 40%. So let's kind of understand that just a little bit. Now, what does that mean going forward? You've got Montez, like we said, he's on his 5th year option this year. He's playing on that for $11.5 million. And you got Chase coming up the following year. And they still have to decide if they're going to give Chase the 5th year option. I think they will. We'll just have to wait and see. But what does that mean going forward? Are you going to continue to pay your 4 defensive linemen a minimum of $70 million a year? I mean, Montez Sweat's not going to get $11 million on the open market. He's going to get $20 million on the open market or as a tag. Same thing. And same for Chase. So they've got some serious decisions to make with Montez and Chase. At best, they're keeping one of them. And now that brings in the possibility of drafting an edge rusher in the first 3 rounds as a replacement for one of those guys. So we'll see how that all kind of works out. And then also, who else do we want to see them sign next? On their own team, there are rumors out there that Taylor Heinicke could be next. He could be signed as a backup. We'll see. If you watch this show at all, the 3 of us, I can't speak directly for them, but I can tell you, combined, the 3 of us, we don't like that deal. We don't want Taylor Heinicke around here for a lot of different reasons. But I think most of all, the minute Sam Howell struggles, this entire town is going to be screaming for Taylor Heinicke. The first interception that Sam Howell throws at home, everyone's going to be screaming for Taylor Heinicke. But that seems to be the rumor that he's out there close to signing with the Commanders. We'll see how it all works out. Again, I think this is a great deal. One other little tidbit that I want to get to before I shut this down. We all talked about how maybe Dan Snyder is not liquid in his cash. And in order to have a guaranteed amount of money, the team has to put that amount of guaranteed money in an escrow account. And if Dan doesn't have that kind of money to put in an escrow account, we necessarily should not be seeing these big contracts. $60 million. He's got to put $60 million in an account. Well, as Kevin Sheehan from 980 said, that actually doesn't need to happen until January of 2024. The need to put that in an escrow doesn't have to happen at signing. It has to happen by January of 2024. So that guaranteed money, that's for the next donor to figure out. Next donor, we'll see. That's what I'm thinking about the Daron Payne. From a football standpoint, I think it's fantastic. From a cap standpoint, I think it's a little shaky. We'll see how it all turns out. He had a career year. This is a 4-year deal. When he's up again at the end of these 4 years, he's only going to be 29 years old, going on 30. He might get another huge deal, maybe from the Commanders. If you like this video, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification button, because we're putting out stuff all the time. And don't forget, you can always catch us Wednesday nights live, 7:30 p.m. We're always going to be live doing it then. We put out all kinds of stuff at other times. Check out our channel. Hit us up on all the social media. And we appreciate everybody who watches this and listens to this. And so until next time, y'all, be a fan.
Here we go.